My dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to start the chapter number 2, Establishment of Pakistan. This is your class 9th and we are following the book Pakistan Studies National Book Foundation. Today's lecture will cover topics important developments between 1906 to 1920. You may also call it the time period of Hindu-Muslim unity. Let's come to the background events leading towards the Simla deputation. My dear students, you have already done the topic in class 8th. We are going to sort of recap the topic. The first event leading towards the Simla deputation or the Muslim efforts towards the making of Muslim League was the War of Independence. In the War of Independence 1857, the Muslims realized that they were left alone. The second event is Urdu-Hindi controversy 1867. In this event, the Muslims faced the crisis of identity that the important pillar of their ideology, language, was at stake. My dear students, look at the slide. Here I have pasted a photograph of the script of Hindi and Urdu. You can well understand that there is a great difference between both scripts. Next is the making of Indian National Congress. The Britishers started in 1885 the platform for Indian National Congress. It was going to represent the whole subcontinent, but soon it started working on the common democracy, and that is that the majority leads, and the majority was definitely the Hindus. Next is 1805, the partition of Bengal. After the partition of Bengal, the Muslims of the subcontinent realized that any action of the government that was done to favor the Muslims or any action that resulted in the favor of Muslims was not liked by the majority Hindus. Next is the 1905, the British elections that result in the victory of Liberal Party. My dear students, in England, there are only two parties. One is the Liberal Party and the one is the Conservative Party. Conservative Party is of the rich honorable class and the Liberal Party is the common class. So once the Liberal Party won the election, it was thought that now the demands of the common public of subcontinent will also be heard. Next is the background of the Simla deputation or events leading toward the Simla deputation. The Simla deputation delegation was headed by Sir Aga Khan. The members were 35 and the viceroy at that time was Lord Minto, and the demands put for the forward from the delegation was that the subcontinent India has got two nations over here. One is the Hindus and others are the Muslims. The Indian circumstances are unique and it is not the same as the England. The Muslims or other minorities should be given separate electorate. That is, that the minorities will choose their own religious people or own people to represent themselves in the councils. There should be a quota in the government jobs. The Muslim judges should handle the cases of the Muslim people. The Mayo College should be given the university status, and there should be additional seats in the legislative assemblies. Achievements of the Simla deputation. Once the meeting was held, Lord Minto heard the recommendations from this delegation very sympathetically, empathetically, and the result was that the confidence of the Muslims was at a high level. They were given a confidence boost. Separate electorate was given to the Muslims in the Minto Morley reforms. Muslims and the British came nearer, and the Muslim recognized as a separate nation, and it was a way to the Muslim League. Now, after the approval of the Simla deputation, the making of Muslim League came into being. The venue was the annual session of the Mohammedan Educational Conference. My dear students, the Mohammedan Educational Conference is differently written in your book, page number 23. Take out your book, page number 23. The heading is Establishment of All India Muslim League. In this, the word is written All India Muslim Education Conference was held. But my dear students, if you visit the net, it is the Mohammedan Education Conference. It was started by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, and annually it was held every year. And now in 30th December 1906, it was held at Dhaka. The meeting was presided by Nawab Wakarul Mulk. Proposals were presented by Nawab Salimullah, and prominent supporters of this suggestion were Maulana Zafar Ali Khan and Hakim Ajmal Khan. And it was approved, and the making of Muslim League came into being. Let's look at the objectives of the Muslim League. My dear students, the Muslim League had to prove to the British government that they will be loyal to the British government. That is why the unconditional subservience was added to the objectives of the Muslim League. Then was the protection of and presentation of the demands of the Muslim community before the British, remove the misunderstandings between the British and the Muslims, and cooperate with the other nations. The early meetings of the Muslim League. The first annual session was held at Karachi, 30th December 1907. Second annual session was held at Aligarh, 18th March 1908, and important posts were allotted in the second session. Like the president was named as Sir Aga Khan was made the president, secretary was Hassan Bil Garami, and the London branch president was nominated as the Sayyid Amir Ali. Let's look at the Indian Councils Act 1909. My dear students, I already told you that in 1905, the British government elections were held and Liberals won the election. They promised some constitutional facilities and rights to the subcontinent public. All these rights were given to them. The promised rights were given to them in the Indian Councils Act 1909. It is famously called as Minto-Morley reforms. Let's look at why are they called Minto-Morley reforms. Lord Minto was viceroy at that time. In England, Secretary of State for India was Mr. Morley. So both personality names are the name added up and made the name Minto-Morley reforms. Approval body was the British Parliament, and the reforms were implemented in 1909. Main points for the facilities given to the Indian public were separate electorate for the minorities, basically Muslims, powers of legislative council enhanced. Indian were to be there in the executive council, like they will give suggestions to the viceroy. Before that, mostly Britishers were the part of the executive councils. Powers with the legislative council will be enhanced. Local bodies will choose their representatives, and the central and provincial members will be also chosen. My dear students, in 1916, Quaid-e-Azam did a lot of efforts for the Hindu-Muslim unity, and the both parties made a common agreement, and then as it was placed in the city Lucknow, that is why it is called Lucknow Pact, and it was a common agreement between the two parties. The venue was of the joint session of the Muslim League and Congress. Place and time is Lucknow, and December 1916 is the time period. Here Congress accepted the separate electorate, and Quaid-e-Azam was named as Ambassador of Peace by a Hindu leader, Sarojini Naidu, and provincial autonomy was also given. Another important point was the levy of the tax and vote on budget is the right of the provincial council. 1/3 Muslim representation will be there in the central council. Bills related to the minorities must gather 3/4 member approval. Provincial legislative council 4/5 will be electables and 1/5 will be nominated. My dear students, electable means that they will come through proper channel of the elections, and 1/5 will be nominated, that the government will nominate 1/5 of the people. Next is the seats of the Muslim majority provinces will be less, and in the minority provinces will be more. Like where the Muslims are in majority, they will have less seats, and where the Muslims are a minority in any province, their seats will be more. Right to ask, question, and adjourn the motion will be there to the minorities, and the executive versus judiciary will have separate powers. The Khilafat movement started in 1919 after the World War I. The main objectives of the Khilafat movement were safeguard of the Turkish Khilafat, respect of Muslim sacred places like Makkah and Medina, safeguard of the Turkish territories. My dear students, Qaid-e-Azam stayed away from Khilafat movement as he was not in favor of use of religion in the politics. As well as at this moment in 1919, he was the member of both Muslim League and Congress. But after this Khilafat movement started and all the religious extremism seen because of Gandhi in the Congress and using of religion as a political move in 1920, he left the Congress permanently and joined Muslim League and then never left it. If there was any main leader of the Muslim community before Qaid-e-Azam, it was Maulana Muhammad Ali Jawad. He did a lot of effort for the Muslims. After him, it is Maulana Shaukat Ali, Maulana Abdul Bari, Hakim Ajmal Khan, Dr. Mukhtar Ansari, Barrister Jan Muhammad Junejo. All these workers did a lot of efforts in the Khilafat movement. But the efforts of the Khilafat movement were gone to vain because of the extremist movements started by Gandhi. Movement was started side by side. Other movements were also started by Gandhi. The prominent are Hijrat movement, 1920. It was started by Muslims who believed that now India was unfit for the Muslims, and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad started it in 1920. 18,000 Muslims, peasants and common people migrated to Afghanistan, but Afghan government did not accept them. They were either sold or murdered on their way, and some of them were sold as well. The next movement is non-cooperation. It started in the 1920 and afterwards 1922 as well. Both time the non-cooperation movement was started. In the non-cooperation movement, Gandhi asked the people, the public, to boycott the jobs and asked the common public to boycott the court, renounce their title. Renounce their title means that give away their title or give back their title, and stop or abstain attending from the educational institutions, resign from the jobs, etc. And all this harmed the common person only. Nothing happened to the government, or the government did not take any pressure from these. The next is the civil disobedience. The civil disobedience was the refusal to obey the laws that were unjust or immoral, appeals to one's sense of justice, put issue on public agenda, draw attention to unjust laws, and disobedience must be open, public, and non-violent. But it ended in the other way. Now, Gandhi's street politics and the use of religion in politics suddenly ended because of the two incidents. Number one was the Mopla rising or rebellion, and the other is the Chora Chori incident. In the Mopla rising, these were the coastal Muslims, South Indian Muslims, who believed or claimed to be from the Arab descent, or they said that they were the Arab settlers, and they rebelled in 1921 and declared a Khilafat kingdom. Several Europeans were killed, Hindus were attacked, and their houses and temples were destroyed. The British blamed this rebellion on the Khilafat movement. The Chora Chori incident also, that once the non-cooperation movement was going on in 4th February 1922, the Chora Chori area or of the Gurdaspur district, mob gathered and put fire on the police station, and a lot of policemen died at the spot. Now, the reasons of the failure of the Khilafat movement must be taken care of. Gandhi's action of the calling of the non-cooperation movement, यानी कि उन्होंने उसको कहा कि उसको ख़त्म कर दिया जाए, बंद कर दिया, तो इससे लोगों में बहुत ज़्यादा डिप्रेशन आया कि जितनी हमने मेहनत की, इतनी कुर्बानियाँ दी, नौकरियाँ छोड़ी और अब क्या हुआ, कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. Government was about to make major concessions. Once the government was going to make major concessions, this movement started, and it was a severe setback to the public as well. The government arrested important leaders of the movement, which left the Muslims leaderless, and they did not know what to do next. The government, after arresting leaders, adopted a cruel measures on the masses to quell their agitation. And the time period of 1919 was that the severe agitation or the action was like the Rowlatt Act. End of the Hindu-Muslim unity is marked at the end of the Khilafat movement. Confidence and the political maturity was obtained by the Muslims. Gandhi was not a Muslim leader, it was accepted by Muslims. Success of the moderate approach towards the politics was now the main relief package for the Muslims, and now Qaid's political formula came into action. And the government side, government took severe actions to stop the public, and one example is the Rowlatt Act. My dear students, now the topic is completed. Inshallah, we meet tomorrow with the next video.